Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio. Frank Ragnow right now, the center, Pro Bowl center for the Detroit Lions.
You Vikings fans, I might end up getting hurt on my bye week or something. As much as I make fun of his hook sets, he actually knew what he was doing. I'm all on the big predators, lake trout, pike, muskie.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts, or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio. Pro Bowl center for the Detroit Lions, Frank Ragnow, going to be joining us on the show this week. We're really excited about it. I dare you to play that Vikings horn when he's on, Dan.
He could probably beat me up.
What, you think? 6'5", 300 pounds.
Have you seen me?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't stand a chance.
How do you know?
We're going to talk fishing with Frank. We'll talk NFL too, and we'll get some fishing reports from around the region, including Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods coming up later in the show. And we're going to talk about essential gear that we're going to be taking with on some of our Canadian fishing trips. But first, Dan, who are the sponsors this week on the show?
Inver Grove Toyota. They are the official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever. When looking for a new truck, head to Inver Grove Toyota. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this open water season at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the OnX Hunt app today. Tazen Lake Lodge. Season is open. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tazen Lake. Learn more at TazenLake.com. Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Prairie Sportsman. The new season is wrapped up. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel or check your TV guide for local air times. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake. Stay at Haybale Heights this summer. Learn more at haybaleHeights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Come fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. Fly directly from Minneapolis. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
David, a couple years ago, we took a trip up to Devil's Lake. We need to get one of those planned again.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun up there. Devil's Lake, North Dakota, new sponsor here on our show. We're very happy to have them on board. So check out Devil's Lake, of course, North Dakota, and plan a summer trip there as well. And we've got a lot of trips planned this year. That's David Eckhardt and Dan Amundson, by the way, joining us here on the show. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about packing for these trips. Now, unfortunately, you're not coming with us on these trips, David, but Dan and I have 3 Canadian trips back to back to back with just a couple of days in between. So it's a lot of travel. It's a lot of border crossing. It's a couple of them are flying trips. They're all pretty remote, actually. And I have a feeling, Dan, we're going to be dealing with bugs and mosquitoes a lot on this trip.
Bugs. Yeah, it is what it is. So thank goodness for the modern technology of pesticide.
Thermacell is where I thought you were going with that, but
well, those are nice too.
Yeah, there are. I still call them a game changer. Unreal, but I am going to spray all my clothes in permethrin anyway.
I think that's a smart thing to do. Like the Sitka Equinox Guard stuff that we wear turkey hunting. We wore that in Alabama hog hunting too. That kept all. I didn't deal with bugs hardly. I sat all night in a pig blind, I guess, box blind in a field in Alabama and didn't hardly deal with mosquitoes at all. That stuff's really nice, and no ticks.
No ticks. And that guide that we had, he came out, he just walked out to the blind once and walked back and had 5 ticks on him.
Yeah. Jeez. We had 0. We were out there 2 nights in a row all night. Yeah. So that stuff's really nice, and if you don't want to pay for that, you can just spray some permethrin on. That Sitka has some extra features, though, like the built-in gaiters in the pants, so the ticks can't crawl up your legs, stuff like that. Super slick. But yeah, thermacells, permethrin, all that stuff. It's important. It's a comfort thing, so you're not getting chased off the water by bugs, but it's also a health thing. Ticks are obviously scary with Lyme disease and the red meat allergy. I can't think
Lone
of
Star.
Lone Star tick.
The Lone Star tick, but I can't think of what
the allergy. I just call it the red meat allergy.
Yeah, whatever it is. That's terrifying.
Yeah, very scary.
Malaria is not really a giant threat around here, but hey.
Is West Nile still a thing?
Probably.
It is. I don't know. I really don't think there's a giant threat with Minnesota mosquitoes, but hey, I don't want to get bit. I don't want to be patient 0. So
anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Heck, you could start a pandemic.
So it's
an election year.
Alpha gal syndrome I think it's or alpha gal. Oh, I don't know how you say that. Alpha gal syndrome. It's an allergy to non-catarrhine mammalian meat. Or something like
Follow the science.
Red meat.
no thanks, not for me. Speaking of sit guy, I've been wearing those grinder pants every day for the last 10 years or whatever. I love them. I have like 10 pairs of them. But
That's good to clarify, because sometimes it looks like you've never changed your pants in any day of your life.
they're all the same color.
Yeah.
I just have a bunch of different pairs of the same colored Sitka pants. But I ordered some more off the Sitka site the other day, and I wanted to try some a little bit different. And they have these everyday pants, and they almost remind me of jeans in a sense, but they're not. They're almost a little bit of a stretchy material. It's a gusseted crotch, according to the description. I'm not 100% sure what that means. But I put them on, and I'm like, there's no way these are going to be. I bought it the wrong size. I bought them too small. They're going to be super tight.
Yeah, I really thought I got a new pair of pants.
Yeah, so did I. And I ordered 2 of them, so I'm like, dang it. And then I wore them for a little bit. I'm like, actually, they kind of stretch out a little bit, and they actually fit pretty well. So I kind of like them, and they're not, when you talk about like Sitka prices and things like that, it's not too bad, and they're kind of nice. So I bought 2 pairs. So I think these will be my go-to pants.
Your everyday pants.
Oh, see what you did there.
Comedy.
Dan, where's your new favorite sun hat, by the way? Because you gotta go. You gotta go
here.
You gotta put that on and show everybody.
Someone
your new
throw
hat.
it to me.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been really trying to be good about the sun. So we've got the new sun shirts in our store. Find a link to our store below here, or go to sportingjournalradio.com and click on store, and you can see their SPF or UPF or whatever the sun protection is for these shirts. I think they're 50 or something like that, but they got the nice big oversized hood.
It's floppy hat season.
My dad's been wearing a hat like that for years, and he's like, you need to get one of these hats to protect your neck and your face and all that. My dad's dealt with skin cancer on his face, so I listen to him when he says that, but I haven't been able to bring myself to wear a bucket hat like that. And Dan, we got some recently from Cass King.
It's funny, actually, when your parents were still doing their Hawaii trips, my fishing hat was a hat like this from Hawaii. It had some fish on it with a really, really long name that nobody could ever pronounce on it. But that, we'd go catch crappies in Wisconsin, and that's what I would wear. And then I probably had it blow off in the boat too many times, so I transitioned to the ball cap. But, I used to make fun of people for wearing hats like this, or the fishing gloves, or the buffs. And now I've just known too many people that have dealt with melanoma, and it's cancer. It's scary stuff.
You see every fishing guide has got the tan line, the sunglass tan lines, right?
And
should we look at my feet? Or the sandal, whatever, croc tan lines. There it is.
Ow, I think I'm pulling a muscle.
So we've got the buffs in our store too. You can get those here, get them wherever. And then I actually got some of the whitewater gloves right here. And I never really liked the idea of wearing gloves, especially in the summer when it's hot out. But man, if you spend a lot of time out there fishing, the back of your hands get burned, and it's not good for you.
No, or your thighs.
Yeah.
That's why it tops your knees.
Yeah, back when I was big into trolling, oh my goodness, day 3 of a fishing trip, I would wear pants even if it was hot and I didn't have warm weather pants, just because my thighs were so roasted. I don't like sunscreen in my boat.
No.
The spray scares me, because if you spray it in the boat, it might get on electronic screens. And David, you and I have talked about that. That can torch your screen.
And bug spray.
Same with bug spray, yeah.
So if it gets on your hands or your baits or anything like that, fishing's going to get real tough for you. So I know a lot of guys will put it on before they leave, and then maybe try to wash their hands a little bit so you remove some of that smell. But that is tough. But take care of yourself out there in the sun.
Yeah. I'd rather have you put sunscreen on and not catch fish and wreck your electronics than not put sunscreen on and die of skin cancer.
And honestly, I wear pants now all the time anyway. I don't wear shorts anymore really when I fish, and a lot of that is not just the sun, but also black flies and mosquitoes and all that other stuff.
You do complain of it being hot when it's above 47 degrees, though.
Yeah, so that's true. That's because it gets hot.
I can't even look at you in that hat and take you serious.
I'm giving all of this serious protect your life advice.
I can't even see your eyes.
Can't see my eyes. Just pretend I'm Wilson from
there you go. It's a
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was just the name of a volleyball or if that was also Home Improvement.
Garmin InReach, if you're going to be anywhere remote, have some sort of way to connect. And it's nice, this account with Garmin anyway, I can turn it on and turn it off. So when I go to Tasman, I'm going to be out in the middle of nowhere, I can turn it on, pay for a month's worth of service. And then when I come back home, I can turn it off. It's pretty slick. And Dan, I don't know if you have one over there, but I wanted to talk about that Tinder maker from Smith's Consumer Products because...
The app?
Yes, I was like, what are you talking? Smith's has an app now?
I don't know what you mean, but it had the cadence of a joke.
Yeah, it's a way. It's got a striker. It's got a way. It looks like a cheese grater on one side, and maybe you can pull it up on the internet there, Dan. And you can shave off some tinder, essentially from a log or a branch, and then use that to help start a fire, basically. And then there's a striker in there. It's a really handy little deal. They've been selling these things like crazy. In fact, they've been out of stock a lot. So if you see these things in stock, get yourself one on order because they are pretty neat little kits, and they're $12, and they're small. But having a way to start a fire in the middle of nowhere, if lighter runs out of juice or it's windy or it's wet or something like that, you can't start a fire, you'll be happy that you had one of these things there. All right, we got to tell you about our video to watch here in 1 second, but real quick, Toyota in Invergrove Heights in the Twin Cities has a deal with us, Fish Hunt Forever, so you can save money on your next Toyota, whether it's a Tundra, Tacoma, Camry, Highlander, whatever, used or new, $500 additional trade-in allowance. They already have low prices on their new trucks, and we'll get you $250 off the lowest advertised price for the summer. Go to our website and look for the Tundra deal and click on that. We'll put a link below here if you're watching this on YouTube as well to save money on your next Toyota at Invergrove Toyota. Right now, real quick, Dan, our video to watch is... Video of the Week. So last year, Linder Media came out to Tasman Lake Lodge and filmed Linder's Angling Edge, right? Also the Canadian experience while we're up there. But right now, you can watch that episode on YouTube. It's a good one. Check it out on the Linder YouTube channel. Look for Linder's Angling Edge at Tasman Lake Lodge. All right, we're really excited. Frank Ragnow is going to join us when we come back. Do not go anywhere. If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. All right, we're back here on Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the radio network by demand, sportingjournalradio.com, or maybe by watching this on YouTube. Thank you very much. If you like what we're doing, make sure you hit subscribe, share this with your friends, like, and maybe comment below. We're pretty excited about our next guest. We've been talking about having him on this show for a while. There's only a certain time of the year, though, that we could probably get him on because he's busy with his real job, and that's Frank Ragnow right now, the center, Pro Bowl center for the Detroit Lions. Ladies and gentlemen, the crowd goes wild. I thought we could have like the
Wait, whoa. What was the boo?
Yeah. Let's see.
First down Vikings.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't informed of this before I came on. I'm out of here.
He didn't agree to this. We have to give you a little bit of a hard time, but obviously you're playing for Detroit. And I'll tell you what, there's been maybe one time on my hands that I can count, one finger that I can count on the times I've cheered for the Detroit Lions, and that was this year, or this past season anyway. Obviously, we're Viking fans here. We grew up watching the Vikings, but it's been fun to watch you over there, and it was fun to see what you guys did with the Lions last season, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's fun winning. Let me tell you, we've had some tough years in my career, and to be able to be part of the team that kind of turns it around and kind of establishes the new culture has been a lot of fun, and last year was amazing. It was so cool to see how the city reacted, and really, I feel like maybe this is dramatic, but it really felt like the whole country kind of was low-key rooting for us in a way, so it felt very, very special, and hopefully this year we can take it to another further step.
Yeah. We're all sick of the Chiefs winning, so Chiefs, Lions,
and we hate the Packers.
Yeah,
and not really a big fan of the Bears. And the Lions always play Minnesota tough, especially in Detroit. But I'll tell you what, it's like if you look at our division, it's the Lions are the team I dislike the the least. Maybe I don't know if that's what I'm saying.
So nice of you. Thank you so much.
No, it's all in fun, and it was a lot of fun to watch you guys, and to see, you had to root for the Lions because it's obviously been a struggle with that club for a long time, and to see you guys succeed, it was fun to watch. As disappointing as the Minnesota seasons are over and over again, we usually have a decent record most of the time anyway, but we're always disappointed in the end, it seems like. So it was fun to see what you guys did there last year.
I really appreciate it.
But and I want to talk fishing. Obviously, this is an outdoor show, so we're going to talk fishing because that's obviously maybe your first love, your second love, what you like to do in your spare time. But let's just talk a little bit about who you are. So you're from Victoria originally?
Correct. From Victoria, Minnesota. Grew up there. Went to Chanhassen High School, and then went to the University of Arkansas, and then was drafted to Detroit. And I've been in Detroit for going on 7 years.
That's awesome, man. So did the Gophers try to recruit you?
Yep. Jerry Kill was the coach when I was getting recruited, and they recruited me pretty hard, and I was pretty close to going there. I love Coach Kill and had a great relationship, and I kind of had a really close relationship with my parents and didn't really want to leave home, but
sure.
My dad actually was the one kind of encouraged me to kind of branch out and at least look at other schools outside the state, and I visited Arkansas and kind of fell in love with the campus and the place, and the rest is history.
Where in Arkansas is that campus at?
Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville.
Fayetteville, okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like right in the Ozarks and everything. It's really beautiful.
No, it had to be tough to see all those ducks flying around in the fall when you're in Arkansas.
Yeah, Stuttgart. Yeah, that's a tough. There's a lot of opportunities there that you got to say no to. Believe me, the fall is some of the greatest fishing opportunities, some of the greatest hunting opportunities, and I'm working. One day.
Right. This is not in any way comparable to what you did, but I worked a lot in the fall for my job when I was doing radio in Fargo, and we were the flagship for the NDSU Bison football team up there, and they had a pretty good run, winning some national championships there. So every other Saturday in September and October, I had to be at the Fargo Dome on Saturday mornings, and I was just it was fun to watch the team, but I was just hating life. Getting text messages from all my buddies shooting limits of mallards and cornfields. I'm like, come on. It's painful.
Just itching. Yeah. I feel you there. I feel you.
So Arkansas, is it true that you never allowed a sack in college, your whole time in college?
That is true. Lucky.
That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. And then the other fun fact we learned about you today is that you've fallen through the ice while ice fishing.
Did you guys watch that video?
Of course. No. So you got a YouTube channel, Grizzly Man Outdoors. So we were checking out a few of them on there. And you fell through it. Frank, you're 6'5", 311 pounds. All right. You can't go ice fishing until February. Okay.
Yeah, I've learned that. Learned that the hard way.
So tell us about that. What happened? Is it early ice?
It was actually not early ice. It was, I want to say it was December or January even, and I was just being I think I said in the video a jackwagon, but holy smokes, was I being a jackwagon? Just kind of messing around, and I knew that I'd fished this pond in the summer, and I knew that there were largemouth in there, so I'm like, all right, well, let's take my drill out there and see what we can do. Didn't get a chance to see.
Well, it looked like at least it was fairly shallow where you were.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I'm under 6 foot and $170 on a good day, and the fire department's had to pull me off the ice, so because we floated.
That does make me feel. I was feeling a little thick, a little husky there, so that helps.
That was an early ice Red Lake situation.
Yeah. Good times.
So growing up in Minnesota, did you always fish? Did your family fish?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest blessings that it's kind of all I've known since growing up. My dad was a huge fisherman. My grandfather was a huge fisherman. My great-grandfather was a huge fisherman. My great-grandfather bought a cabin in northwest Ontario that you can only get to by boat or plane, and we've been going up there since I can remember, and it's kind of always been a part of who I am, and I think it's the biggest blessing in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. You know, and that's the same way that I got introduced to it too. And I feel very fortunate. You know, not everybody has that type of situation, so I feel very fortunate about it. So does that lake in Ontario then, does that have lake trout in it or what? Because you kind of got bit by the lake trout bug, didn't you?
Oh, I'm all in on lake trout. I am obsessed with lake trout. Yeah, that has lake trout. Not really the giant monsters, but a good average size. And then it's got great walleye, great muskie, northern. It's just your classic shield lake.
Well, we were hoping to get you up to Tasman this year. Maybe we'll have to look into that next year because it's those big lake trout. I'm the same, you know, growing up here in Minnesota, unless you were spending a lot of time up in the Arrowhead or up in northern Minnesota, we didn't really have the chance to fish lake trout much. And when we did, we ice fished them a little bit and caught some okay fish. But man, once I caught one of those big, that first trip to Tasman, I caught one that was, in the 50s. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to fish anywhere else for anything else anymore. Like
I can't even fathom that. I think I'd cry. It's addicting. I'm right there with you. It is something so special. I love them, and they're all so unique and have their own story. I just think they're such a cool fish.
They're fun. They get a bad rap on like Lake Michigan. I know we do some of the All Canada shows down there in Milwaukee, Green Bay, Chicago, and we try to tell these guys that fish Lake Michigan that come to Saskatchewan to fish for lake trout, and they're like, oh, well, I don't like those grease balls, and it's like it's completely different way. It's a completely different way of fishing than they do in the Great Lakes most of the time.
For sure.
We're not trolling 8 rods out there trying to catch salmon. We're jigging for these big fish, or we're trolling big baits on the bottom. You're holding on to the rod and then holding on for dear life generally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not them big noodle rods doing the charters out there skidding them across the surface. This is a real fight.
Yeah. Have you done some Canadian lake trout trips then? It looks like you've traveled a little bit.
I've been up in northern Manitoba quite a bit. I've done Baker's Narrows Lodge. I did that this year. I go up to Wekusko Falls Lodge up there, and I've done some lake trout up there, walleye up there, kind of everything. And I've gone to my cabin a bunch. Like that lake trout right there is my cabin in
nice.
Northwest Ontario. And
nice.
I've just got the bug. I will do anything for them.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about what we can see on your channel because you've traveled around a little bit fishing for different species, some saltwater stuff, and then you've had some other NFL players and coaches with you, including we just learned about Jared Goff's hook sets today, actually.
Isn't that funny? The thing is, guys, he still thinks there's nothing wrong with that. He thinks it's dialed, and he thinks it's the best hook set in the world, and I love it. He is fun to fish with. He loves it too.
That's awesome. Well, I want to ask you a little bit more about that when we come back. We're taking a quick break. Frank Ragnow is our guest here on Sporting Journal Radio. We'll be right back. Hunting season will be here before you know it, and it's time to get ready for your next adventure with the onX Hunt app. Whether you're traveling in search of roosters, elk, waterfowl, or looking to score on a whitetail close to home, onX Hunt can help you be more successful this season. Route, plan, and navigate with private and public land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the Hunt app on the App Store or Google Play and join the millions of hunters that trust onX Hunt. Hey, we got a place for you to go fish in Ontario as well. You want to catch walleyes, you want to catch pike. In Ontario, Guardian Eagle Resort is a place. Bring the family, fish for walleyes, pike on 75,000 acres of private water. And you can fly direct from Minneapolis. So if you're watching this in the Twin Cities, you can go right on a charter plane in Anoka, jump on the plane, and fly direct to their island where their lodge is at. They have their own runway right there. It's a 3,000-foot concrete runway right at the lodge. So it's a fly-in place, and you can fly in directly from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com. We're back, Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the network by demand. Any podcast service out there, you can find this show or watching it on YouTube. Our guest right now is Detroit Lions Center Frank Ragnow, also Grizzly Man Outdoors on YouTube. We're talking fishing right now and a little bit about the NFL, because right before the break, we talked about a video you did with Jared Goff, and looks like you've had some other NFL players and coaches out there with you. And is that a situation where you're saying, hey, you're in the locker room, anybody want to go fishing, in the summer, in the off season? Or are they coming up to you and like, man, I watched you catch that lake trout, I want to do that?
Yeah, I think it started off me kind of having to beg some guys to get out there and tell them, like, hey, because we live over in Detroit, we're right next to Lake St. Clair, which is an incredible fishery. And I'm like, hey guys, this can be pretty fun. And then they started seeing my Instagram posts, and now, not to brag here, they're asking me and they're begging me. So it's pretty cool to be able to introduce some of those guys to that fishery and see them get a hack at it. And some of them struggle, and some of them pick it up pretty naturally.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, just the whole introducing new people to fishing. Honestly, you talk about that in all aspects of the outdoor world, but to be able to do it, in that situation is pretty neat. And are there some guys that have surprised you that are pretty good anglers that you've taken out?
There's been some guys that's pretty funny. They will tell me, oh yeah, I fish all the time. I grew up fishing. And then they got their spinning reel upside down, reeling backwards. I'm like, oh yeah, you must fish a bunch. But yeah, there's some solid guys. A couple of my coaches, pretty dialed fishing. Jared Goff, actually, as much as I make fun of his hook sets, he actually knew what he was doing and could cast at least and do all that. But most of them are pretty raw, I'd say.
Like how important is taking somebody like that out? A relationship between a teammate for one thing, but a center and a quarterback. That's got to be a great way to bond with somebody like that.
100%, because it's I don't think people even realize the importance of our relationship when it comes to understanding our scheme, defensive scheme, and all that stuff going on. We got to be able to think very much alike and understand what each other are thinking. So it's a good opportunity for us to be able to get away from football but still expand our relationship and understand how each other works and enjoy some free time together. I think it's amazing.
So we've got some friends with the Vikings that wanted to hear more about some of those schemes. Is that?
Yeah, I'll just email you guys the playbook. Just let me know.
Just send the playbook over. No, that'd be cool. So it's June here, almost the end of June. When do you have to, I suppose OTAs, or when do you have to report to training camp? When do football activities start, and how much time do you get yet to fish this year?
So we just finished up OTAs. They finish up around early June. So last week and a half, I finished up OTAs and mini camp, and then we report for training camp July 23rd, and then it's full speed, no more fishing, no more anything but ball. So this is kind of my window to really kind of grind it out. I still have to be working out every day, but my opportunity to be able to get out there and try to do a little fishing.
Well, we don't have a gym at Tazen, but we've got some boats on shore, so you could just maybe
find some logs.
We'll cut some wood.
The fish are the work.
There you go.
Nailed it.
That's what it is.
That's perfect. So yeah, I suppose. I mean, who was it during their bye week? Carson Wentz, I think, a couple of years ago during his bye week. Didn't he go duck hunting in North Dakota?
Sounds about right.
So when's your bye week? Maybe we can schedule a fishing trip in there.
Ours is early this year. I think it's first week of October.
We'll be in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, we will be in Saskatchewan.
We'll be around Tobin if you want to catch walleyes and pike.
Yeah, if you want to come up. Maybe shoot some geese or something.
Don't tell me with a good time,
Offers there. Let's go.
You Vikings fans, I might end up getting hurt on my bye week or something. It'll be tough to explain to Coach Campbell.
Be written into your contract, in your next contract, no hanging around Vikings fans during the season.
You're not allowed to go back to Minnesota ever.
Yeah, watch out for sharp hooks.
Whoops. Well, we're all barbless at Taz, and you'll be fine.
That's right. Have you ever had any weird fishing injuries?
I've had some pretty bad tennis elbow. I'm not gonna lie, which has been tough to explain from jigging and stuff. But otherwise, I've been able to escape pretty clean.
What else? I know you want to come up to Tasman, and that's probably going to be one of your answers. But what other bucket list fishing trips do you have? Where else would you like to go?
Oh, that's tough. Tasman's definitely number one bucket list. Lake trout has been huge. I'm kind of starting to get the muskie itch a little bit, so it would be cool to get up to I think Laxul would be cool, or somewhere up there, and chase muskies. Otherwise, I really don't discriminate, to be honest. But right now, I currently definitely have the lake trout itch. I'd love to get all over Canada. I think Canada is so cool, and there's so many beautiful places to go. So really, anywhere chasing fish up there, you can. A monster pike would be sick. I'd love. The biggest pike I've caught is 40 inches. I think it'd be cool to catch like a 45 plus. That would be so sweet. And I know you can do that at Tasman too. So it looks like Tasman's the answer.
Yeah, let's get you up there next year. Let's get something figured out. And, I'll be honest, and I'm not going to knock bass fishing, but I know there's so many, when you hear about some of these professional athletes that fish, a lot of them are bass fishing. And I suppose that's partly just because of the increased opportunity for bass around the country. And a lot of guys are probably from the South, grew up doing that. But it's so cool to hear somebody, like yourself that's into lake trout, because you just don't hear that very often. That's awesome.
Yeah, I grew up and I was a kid, I'd bike over to ponds in Minnesota and lakes and do a lot of largemouth fishing. And then I definitely still do some smallmouth bass fishing, but I'm all on the big predators, lake trout, pike, muskie, walleye. That is my fix.
It's so much fun. So what can people talk about your YouTube channel? What made you decide to start it? What you want to do with it? And if there's anything that we might see on it, in the future, what do you want to put out on there?
Yeah. So, growing up, the dream has always been make it to the NFL. Kind of since I can remember, started playing football, it was always NFL. And I grew up, my room was purple and yellow. I was a diehard Vikings fan. I used to write down note cards of every player and know every stat, and I always wanted to be that. But part of the dream was also my dad, my brother, and I to have our own fishing show. And unfortunately, when I was a junior in college, my dad had a heart attack and passed away. And it kind of shook us pretty hard. But me and my brother kind of always have wanted to carry out that dream of kind of doing the show. And I don't really know exactly how I came up with the name Grizzly Man Outdoors, but we came up with the name. And I watch everything on YouTube to fishing, hunting. It's kind of my addiction. So I've always kind of had a dream to kind of get it going. So I started the channel, and I'm trying to, I guess, use my platform right now, because I know that I'm very fortunate right now to have a pretty large platform of Lions fans and then fans all over the country, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm kind of trying to use that, leverage that to kind of springboard maybe whenever I'm done into my next career of having my own show. We'll see. I obviously right now it's tough, the main thing is the main thing, and that's football, but every once in a while I try to pound out some episodes, and I had cameramen, I've had myself filming. I love to do it on my own, but I also understand the quality definitely helps the viewer. So I'm kind of right now in the experimenting phase, trying to get out content, but also trying to have fun with it and use it. So hopefully one day that's kind of the main show.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your dad, of course. And going back to that maybe I suppose high school time, when did you start to think that the NFL was going to be a reality?
I was a pretty decent recruit. I was recruited all over the country, but at that point, I couldn't really fathom it. And then, my freshman year at Arkansas, training camp was tough. Going from Minnesota down south, let's just say the skill level was definitely noticeable. And I struggled in training camp, but then I worked hard and things started rolling. And then I was very fortunate to be a freshman All-American. And then that's when I kind of realized that, hey, this is a real thing. And people were talking to me about looking at agents and all this stuff. And my dad was one of those super fans. He had Google alerts, and every article ever written about me, he would get a text and be like, and let me know, hey, here's what this so-and-so is saying about this and that. So that's when we kind of realized that the dream was a reality.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on all the success. And it is important to have a plan. When you talk about the average NFL career is 3 years or something like that. It's important to have a game plan for after, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of guys really get their identity wrapped up in football. And I'm not saying that I'm not all in on football or anything, but I also know I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I love fishing, I love the outdoors, I love deer hunting, I love so many things, and I think it's a blessing. I think it's gonna, whenever that day does come, it's gonna make that transition easier because I have passions that I can link out to, and I think you see today that a lot of those guys kind of struggle with their identity.
Yeah. What to do next. That's tough, especially when it's all they've known from, I mean, I was never good enough, but I remember I played football and baseball, and I started playing baseball, I think, when I was 3. And, growing up, that's all I wanted to do was play professional baseball. And obviously didn't work out for me, but I can imagine for the guys that do, when you start that young and that's all you know. And for some of these guys, especially, baseball players or NFL or hockey players, they're playing it year round. A lot of times they're going to camps or training. Like it's a year round thing. So when that comes to an end, I mean, I'm sure that's pretty tough. So if your game plan can be hunting and fishing, though, you're way ahead of the game. First of all, I think that's brilliant. Perfect choice.
Not a bad transition, eh? That's the dream. That is the dream.
Not bad at all. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Let's talk off air about Tazen, and I wish you all the success this fall and this upcoming season. And if you ever get a chance to play for the Vikings, we'd love to see you over here too. But we will quietly cheer for you over in Detroit.
I'm pretty sure like the whole angler community is Detroit Lions fans. Doesn't matter if you even like football at all, but like I've seen some of your posts and seen some of the other anglers that are commenting on it. I'm pretty sure every angler, at least in Minnesota, is on the Lions bandwagon. I'll happily jump on
for sure.
Yeah, so. I appreciate it. You guys had Jason Mitchell up there last year, and he's it's been cool. He's a diehard Lions fan, and it's been cool to be able to meet him through that. And it's been cool. It's a cool community. What a blessing the outdoors are to bring people together, and I'm very fortunate to, I guess, represent some of us. So I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. Well, Grizzly Man Outdoors on YouTube. You can also follow him on this Detroit Lions team, I guess, too. And Frank Ragnow, thanks again, and let's do it again sometime. All right, if you're looking for a world-class walleye fishing destination this summer, check out Devil's Lake, North Dakota, where the walleye bite remains strong even through the dog days of summer. Visit devilslakend.com to learn more and to get your trip planned. Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. All right, we are back on Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the network, or maybe watching this on YouTube. Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism is going to join us right now, Joe. And I know summer, I can't believe we're as far into, I know summer just started, really, when you think about it, but I feel like summer is already starting to move back pretty fast. And, pretty soon it's going to be July. It's going to be the old dog days of summer. I know we're planning to come up there in August. And I always tell people when they talk about August fishing, especially walleye fishing in Minnesota, like, oh, it gets hot, and the walleye fishing gets tough. And I've had some of my, I've gone to we used to do those Lake of the Woods trips all the time in the summer. When we'd go in the summer, it was always in August. And we always smashed big fish up there in August, Joe. It doesn't, I'm not going to say fishing gets better in August, but it doesn't get worse, that's for sure.
No, it sure doesn't. Well, I'll tell you something. So, July and August, both months are really, really good up at Lake of the Woods. And here's the kicker is that, in July and August, you got a few things working on normal, inland lakes that make it really hard to consistently catch walleyes. Those walleyes get scattered. You get weed growth that really gets high. And then you have millions and millions of these small fish that have hatched this year, perch and other species that are just prime time eating size. So you're competing with millions and millions of these little bait fish. And, so it's much more difficult to catch these walleyes on these inland lakes. Whereas Lake of the Woods, we got some advantages, of course. And, one of the advantages is we have 10 million walleyes, or estimated at that. And, that obviously helps.
That
and
helps.
Then, a little bit. And then, you don't have the weed growth. I mean, we have weeds in some areas, but I mean, really, we're fishing big flat basins, and those fish will get deeper, but you can go out there and you can see them on electronics, and they're in big schools, and it's stained water, so the fish bite during the day. You don't have to be out at night when there's mosquitoes and everything, and there's a lot of advantages that way. And July and August are prime time months for Lake of the Woods. I know people that they plan their trips for July and August. In fact, if you're a troller and you love trolling crankbaits out in no man's land, August is the month. I mean, people will go out there with lead core line, or they use a heavy bottom bouncer, like a 4-ounce bouncer and a 6-foot piece of mono and a shallow diving crank. Or if you have downriggers on your boat, some people have those now. But they'll get out in that basin. That big Traverse Bay is what we're talking about, you guys. That's the big part of Lake of the Woods, the big open basin. And that is about 30 miles north-south by 25 miles east-west. The deepest spot in Big Traverse is only 38 feet deep. That means the whole thing is full of life. So you'll get out there and you'll have, sometimes when you're amongst fish and life, you'll look at your sonar, and honest to goodness, it's almost like simulation mode, where you'll have schools of bait fish up elevated. Then you'll have hook. There's times where I've taken pictures of the screen, and it is so full of life with bait and walleyes scattered, most of them along the bottom, a few of them suspended. Usually you get a couple that are inside the bait pods, I mean, but imagine trolling through those fish. And, certainly we pull cranks through them. We drift spinners through them. Our charter boats, most of the summer, they'll drift spinners almost all summer long. Some of them will actually put the downriggers on and troll cranks, late in the summer too, just to, if the fish are real scattered out in the basin, they can fill the coolers pretty quick by, as we call it, combining, But it's kind of, but I'll tell you, it's very, very good fishing in the summer, and that's one of the reasons Lake of the Woods kind of shines. I mean, in end of May and beginning of June, there's a lot of lakes you can go and catch some nice walleyes. But I'll tell you, things get a lot tougher as the season progresses on most lakes.
We haven't talked much about muskies, and I've been hearing, I've always heard about great muskie fishing, of course, at Lake of the Woods, but it seems like the last couple of years I've just been hearing about it more and more. Like, the muskie fishing has just been great up there.
Yeah, we're known as a world-class muskie fishery, and you figure the muskie anglers go to the northern part of Lake of the Woods. That's the northwest angle, and what most muskie anglers do is they'll stay at the angle at one of our nice resorts, and then they'll scoot over the border and fish muskies in the Ontario side of Lake of the Woods. Lake of the Woods has 14,552 islands.
That needs to be on a shirt too, by the way. 14,000. All the islands.
I do have that in the back of a shirt. I have 14,550 islands, over 65,000 miles of shoreline. Man. I actually have a sweatshirt with a map of Lake of the Woods. But, with that kind of those islands and that shoreline, you got just about everything. You got, number one, you get small water, so the wind doesn't really affect you because they're all like little inland lakes. But then you have points, bays, saddles, red cabbage patches. The red cabbage holds a lot of muskies. You just have so much structure, and it's unbelievable. And then it's interesting too, because we do have that stained water in Lake of the Woods, so a lot of the muskie anglers will talk about how important a figure 8 is when you bring it back to the boat. You can't see those muskies very far, so you just have to assume there could be one following. You do that figure 8. A lot of fish are caught by the boat. The other thing I hear that some of the better muskie guides talking about is you don't have to have those huge lures on Lake of the Woods. In fact, in many cases, the muskies will prefer the smaller to mid-sized baits on Lake of the Woods, so you don't get so tired out throwing at them. And it's just a very, very good muskie fishery that way.
And you don't have to. You only have to sell one kidney to buy the muskie baits. Then what you're saying, you don't need to sell them both to afford those big giant baits up there.
Yeah, muskie anglers, they're a special breed, and they do have to buy big poles, expensive lure. But as many of your listeners know, there are some people that when they get bit by the muskie bug, oh, yeah. Everything else is just a bait fish to a muskie. They are after muskies, and that's what juices them up. And it's all good.
I get it. Once I started going after big lake trout and big pike, once you go after big fish, it's it's hard to go after small ones after that. You get that itch for the big fish, except for walleyes. That's the one thing I still like. If I could go catch a pile of walleyes with a crack, at a 30, I will still choose that most of the time. But if I'm going to a place where there's some big fish, and obviously Lake of the Woods has got the big fish and the walleyes too. It's kind of a great multi-species destination. But I get it. I just don't have the bank account to become a muskie angler at this point.
Well, you know what? I tell you, what a lot of the muskies guys do, guys and gals, there's some female guides too that are very good. What a lot of these guys will do is they'll take their clients out muskie fishing, and these muskie guys are dialed. I mean, anybody who wants to get a good muskie guide up at the Northwest Angle, you're going to learn a ton. You're going to see fish. You know what? It's kind of cool too, I think, because they'll go muskie fishing hardcore when they, in the afternoon if they want to take a little break, whatever, just chill for a little bit. Let's just switch to walleyes. They go whack their walleyes, jump up on an island, do a shore lunch, go back to casting for muskies. Heck, a lot of the muskie guides, some of what they do, they have to walleye guide, even though it's not their first choice. Muskies are. But they walleye guide because that pays the bills, right? That's what most people come to Lake of the Woods for. And they'll walleye guide. They'll come in, they'll cut fish for the clients, make sure that everything's ready to roll. What do you think they do then? They turn around and jump in their boat and go muskie fishing, personally. Yeah. I mean, they're obsessed. Heck, and I don't recommend this, but you'll be up there and so you got some storms rolling in. But if those muskie anglers aren't in the water already, they jump in their boats and they go for it, man. That's when you get that bite window,
I don't recommend this. Anything that comes after that.
Well, I'm not going to recommend going on with storms approaching, but that's just real life too. It is, and you know that.
Well, I know, and I've got a couple of buddies that are up there that are guides up at the angle, and they send Snapchats, so I see the muskies that are up there all the time, and it's like, God dang it.
Well, how many times, I know multiple times we've been up there duck hunting, and we'll just be doing something for like 20 minutes on the island or wherever we're staying, and all of a sudden they'll come ripping back in the boat, like, where'd you guys go? They're gone for a half hour. Oh, I tried to catch a muskie real quick. You didn't just want to sit down for a half hour. You just had to be on the water right now.
They're obsessed, and obsessed in a good way. They're really passionate. It's interesting too because people might say, well, hey, how does that work if you stay at the Northwest Angle and then you want to go fishing, in Ontario? Hey, all you need is an Ontario fishing license. And then if you boat into Ontario waters and don't touch land, you don't need to check in with Canada Customs, nor do you need to check in with U.S. Customs on the return, visit. So it's very easy. Now, if you do want to touch land and have a shore lunch, if you do want to go to a resort and have lunch up there or something like that, then all you got to do is call the 888 CAN Pass number to get in. You just have to have an Ontario fishing license when you go fishing in Ontario, and you can't have any kind of bait, live, dead, or frozen. And for muskie anglers, that's typically not a big deal because they normally are throwing, casting baits to them. Now, in the fall, they'll use some big sucker minnows, and if that's the case, you can grab those on the Ontario side if that's your choice. I think the other thing too is when we had COVID and the Canadian border was closed, some of the muskie nets that are guides up at the Northwest Angle were obviously forced to stay in Minnesota waters. Boy, were they happily surprised at what they found.
They found some fish?
Passed over for a long time. And in fact, they still don't really do much with them. They kind of leave them alone, and they go target the Ontario side, Well,
I think Canada actually closed the border in the lake, too. So
Drop
all
the gate down.
The American muskies were like, I guess we stay here.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
That was a terrible joke.
Pretty sure.
That was awful.
But also, if you remember COVID, I mean, that's so we couldn't, you couldn't cross the border, and they didn't have fences like that, but you couldn't cross the border during COVID at all. So, the muskie anglers had to stay on this side of the border, and were happily surprised with what kind of quality fish were on the Minnesota side. But then it was also interesting because if you remember during that ice fishing season, we created that Northwest Angle guest ice road that was 38 miles, so people could travel up to the angle still, and we still had ice fishing season up there. It was a very unique time. I hope we never have to go through it again.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube and search for Prairie Sportsman, you can see that that road, and we took it up there and did some fishing. That angle, I mean, the south end of Lake of the Woods, of course, the Rainy River, great places to fish, but that angle is such a special place up there, Joe, and if anybody watching or listening to this, if they've never been up to the Northwest Angle, you have to go check it out, because you can still get in on all the walleye fishing that Lake of the Woods is famous for, but you can do that muskie fishing, smallmouth, big pike, crappies, lake trout, pretty much everything. You're in the islands. It's like being being out in the wilderness. It's beautiful.
We have a lot of people coming up that actually are coming up and they don't even really care about fishing. They're coming up to get a picture with the northernmost point buoy, just like they have the southernmost point buoy in Key West. We have a lot of motorcyclers who, they'll go in fact, we just had somebody recently, and he was on a motorcycle. He bought a piece of key lime pie down in Florida, and then with the buoy in Key West. And he drove his motorcycle up to the Northwest Angle and had somebody take a video of him eating key lime pie up at the northernmost point.
That's awesome.
We told the guy who was talking to him, who's a resident up at the Northwest Angle, you should have given him a walleye sandwich and sent him back home.
Yeah. Was it over the ice road? Did he take the...
Like, he just water skipped it.
Yep.
Right.
Like a snowmobile.
That's awesome. All right, Joe. Well, if people want to plan a trip to the Northwest Angle or the rest of Lake of the Woods, what should they do?
Hey, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.